Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you didn't have like a loop of the audio then, because I was just opening up the Twitch dashboard, and as I did that, I could hear the video preview playing in the background. So I was like, "What? I can hear everything." But anyway, good morning. Good morning. It is the dawn of the new era. It's the start of the whole pandemic-y shit. If you are at home, please feel free to say hello. If you have children, then, well, you can watch us each and every single weekday starting next week because the schools are about to close. But anyway, let's leave all that at the door. We don't really care about the dramas and trials and tribulations of trying to find toilet rolls or hand sanitizers or even just a good packet of crisps, because this is The Scoop. We are Ice Cream, and we are live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. My name is Graham Day, and this man who is in a box, who now is not going to be in a box, well, he's now in a bigger box, is the man we call Baby! And it still says... It still says Doom review scores. That was clearly the last bit of news we spoke about yesterday. Let's get rid of that off the screen. Good morning, Bib. How the devil are you, sir?
Welcome, Graham, and everybody else to the isolation station.
My God. Like I love that. That's it. That's it.
That's quality, that, isn't it?
Rights note. Copyright Graham Day 2020.
Wait, that's going as my stream title every single day until all this shit's blown over. The isolation station.
The only thing is, though, because of the rhyme, you have to be a proper smooth microphone speaker, as in like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the isolation station. My name is Bib, and we are live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads.
I need D-Mac to do it because he sounds like Barry White. Imagine the smoothness as he welcomes the stream. That would be great.
Yeah, as a man with a voice so deep, every time he shouts out isolation station, the whales at the bottom of the sea go, woo!
I'd love that. But yeah, isolation station, make a note of that.
Added to, we were originally the UK's #1 video games podcast, self-proclaimed, but that's out of the window now. This is the isolation station. And we bring you your daily dose of news from the world of gaming and beyond, each and every single weekday at 10 a.m. on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. Me and the man we call Booby. Well, we call him a lot of things, actually, to be fair, but most of them is usually when he's not listening, but, you know, it can't be mean in that. So yeah, anyway, we give you our thoughts and impressions on all the breaking news stories from the world of games, and we want your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions, and that's kind of how this works. It's a back and forth live at 10 a.m. each and every single weekday. But if you can't be here with us, live on Wabbit. If you can't be here live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads, you may actually be watching it right now on YouTube, because that's what we do. We turn this into a stand-alone on-demand podcast. So around an hour or so after we finish with the live show, you will be able to catch it on demand. So if you are doing that now, hi. And then a little bit later on in the day, we turn it into an audio podcast, which we upload to iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Obviously, everyone on demand gets the ability to pause, rewind, fast forward, just hear Bibby going, hello, over and over and over again if they want to do that. That's the pleasure of being on demand, but they don't get a chance to get involved in the chat. So if you are live on Twitch, feel free to use the ability to type in the little box that's kind of down there and have a little bit of onward discussion as we run through what is going to be a decent stream. We have some big news. Well, some big news. We have some confusing but big news. Let's put it that way. It's strange days when you walk into a shop with a mask on and a note in a hand and no one panics. Says Fatman Dave 8472 in the chat. Good morning. Yeah, well, do you know, I might try it with that Doom helmet and see how I get on with that. Got any milk?
No motorcycle helmets in here, son. Get it off.
It's not a motorcycle, mate. Actually, I just got. Actually, do you know what? I'm not going to put it on.
Yeah, but not many people know it's going to be the Doomslayer mask. Do you know what I mean?
To
be fair,
it does look very motorcyclish. To be fair, for the uninitiated, I was quiet then because I was miles away from the microphone for anyone listening on demand. Bibby won't be able to see this, but I only realised that, like silly o'clock last night, that this mask has lights in it as well. So if you, where is it? Where's the switch? Actually, let's go full screen because that's a bit tiny. So, like, on the mask itself, click any switch. It's got little lights in it. How cool is that? Yes! So it took me a full day of having it to realise that I could put batteries in it. But there we go. We'll leave the Doomslayer there. So, yes. What you were about to say something then, and I started chatting about masks and stuff.
do you know what? To people who may not be familiar to know what it even actually is, yeah, it could look like a motorcycle helmet, but it also looks like, I mean, this is going to offend absolutely everybody who likes either of these franchises, but it actually looks like the Master Chief helmet as well. Do you not think? I've just heard you blow the nose.
Yeah, I muted it for the stream though. I muted it for the stream. It's fine. We're trying to leave coronavirus at the door. Stop mentioning it, baby. God.
It's alright. I'm wearing half of it.
But yes, the Master Chief mention. I did think that as well. That's one thing. One thing I do have, and feel free to clip the hell out of this, is I'm partial to a helmet. Be it my level 3 helmet for PUBG, which is down there. Be it the ridiculously sexy Seeker's mask from Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts. Be it the Doomslayer's helmet there, or Iron Man, or whatever. Never played Halo, but one thing I am a fan of is Master Chief's full face setup, that full sort of like chromed visor helmetness. Yeah. I'm all on board for a nice, lovely helmet. Give me everyone's helmet. That's the gist of it. Anyway, let's move on. So, obviously on the stream yesterday, we were talking about live streaming or co-streaming the PlayStation 5 architecture even deep dive, which was live at 4 p.m. UK time yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have been able to co-stream it anyway because it was only on YouTube. There was no live broadcast on the PlayStation Twitch channel, so we'd had to do a watch along where I'm on stream reacting to the video that you can't see on stream because as Twitch partners we can't share video that's streamed live on a different provider. We can share on-demand video but not live video. So we wouldn't have been able to show the content on our stream. So you'd have had to watch that, had to watch us, and by some twist of fate, I actually got called into a conference call at exactly 4 o'clock. So we couldn't cover it live. But the silver lining of that is it would have probably been the most confusing stream in the world. As Mark Cherney, if anyone's watched last night's broadcast from PlayStation, Mark Cherney is kind of like, I don't know, a sexual linguist. He's like his soothing, chilled voice talking about CUs and RAM and clocking and gigahertz and triangles and all this stuff. And I'm sat there thinking, do you know what, Mark? It sounds lovely. And the way you said it sounds like someone reading me a bedtime story as well. But I have no idea what most of it means.
Well, we definitely got not just the wrong end of the stick. We definitely picked up the wrong stick altogether when we thought what we may potentially be getting. Yes, that conference for the nerds yesterday. It was all nerdy, floppy, gigahertz, RAM storage, solid state drive kind of conference. There wasn't much come out of it that I think the average consumer probably would have enjoyed by the looks of it.
I remember, I say remember, like it was a long time ago. I remember. A good 12 hours ago or whatever it was. Well, more like 16, 18 or whatever. But anyway, I sat here watching it on this monitor and I'm sat there thinking, do you know what? That's all really cool. I am not even going to retain 95% of that though by the time it comes to the scoop in the morning, so never mind the rest of it. And I'm sat there thinking, like Bibby asked the question on stream yesterday and asked you guys in the chat as well, what would you like to see come out of this? And I said obviously with it being an architecture deep dive, no doubt we'll get the numbers of hard drive spaces or the floppy terrors and the teraflops and all the rest. But then I was like, do you know what, I can't see them at this point not giving in. So by the end of it, I would expect to see the DS4 controller because we've already had, architecture deep dive stuff on the controller with the haptic triggers and all the rest of the stuff that was featured in the wide article. And then before that, we'd already had some sort of architectural information in the wide article. So I thought by the end of it, we've had architecture stuff. We've now got a deep dive into architecture stuff. So they're going to finish it with a pow. This is what it looks like. No, it was just a weird sort of green screen conference. I mean, the funniest thing is, I remember sat there thinking, this is like, it's a weird green screen kind of setup. Even the doc's got better green screens than this. And did you see any of it? Did you watch any of it? It was kind of...
As mentioned yesterday, I was in self-isolation for the evening part, not because I was ill, but I was trying to get Prison Break done as fast as possible so that tonight, happy Resident Evil Day, by the way, that I can play through Resident Evil demo and then Resistance straight afterwards. I made the deal with the missus. She agreed ish, providing that Prison Break was finished. So it was literally get in, have tea, put my phone to the side, and then literally get through it as much quickly as possible. Sorry, yeah. So it was. Oh, for God's sake! Like you lot can't hear it, but honest to God, it's horrific. It's so. It's like blowing down a flute and then into a trumpet and then onto a drum kit. He's got three different pitches and then like a bassy bass at the end. But yeah, happy Resident Evil Day to... well, I say Resident Evil Day. It's Resident Evil 3 demo day. We can't have too many celebrations. But the demo of Resistance and Resident Evil 3 is out today. Asim was basically teasing me all yesterday. It's in New Zealand. It's in New Zealand. Like, I'm not fucking playing Asim. And then he sent me a picture of his screen loading up with his controller. Fuck's sake! I don't need this.
I did see the tweet saying one for you or something like that, and I could like see your tweet saying something like that. I'm not going to touch it or whatever. And even though it was just a box standard tweet, if anyone else would have wrote that tweet, it'd have been, yeah, I'm not going to touch it. It's fine. But for Bibi, I read it as like,
just like my mouse just scrunching in my hand. I can hear it clicking as it's breaking. But yeah, tonight is the night. It's officially out, and obviously. Capcom haven't sponsored anything that we've ever done. However, they have helped us by sending us stuff up. So as we are a company that likes to abide by the embargoes set to us, we will return that favour to them, which is why we'll be streaming it today, because as it's officially out in the UK. So as of whenever I get home, which is hopefully around 6 o'clock, by at least 6:30, the stream should be up. We're ready to go. I've already set the download off. We're good. Okay, so Graham's blowing his nose. So we're going to get through the demo. I think it's about half an hour, 45 minutes long. And then we're going to move into Project Resistance. If anybody is in the chat that has Project Resistance and a PS4, I don't know how the mechanics or anything works behind it, but if we can get a multiplayer going, that'll be absolutely ace. Follow me on Twitter at We've Got With Beanio, or Ice Cream Uploads, or even Graham, and he'll pass the message on. We'll get some multiplayer going because it looks ace.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll jump back onto that and give you a bit of a reminder at the end of the show where and when you can catch Bibi soon. But for now, let's jump into our first news story of the day. And it'll probably be the majority of the show just because the amount of potential for deep diving into the PlayStation news. And as you can see on screen now, written by Tom Phillips for Eurogamer, the first article we have of the day is PlayStation 5 will be backwards compatible with almost all top PS4 games at launch, which is chosen by Total Playtime. Obviously, there is a lot of information when it comes to PS5, so we've got this, and we'll jump straight from this into a secondary article, and then we can pull it apart from there. No doubt there will be more, so if you do have more things that we've not included in these two articles, please feel free to jump in the chat. It's just obviously a 52-minute stream last night, obviously would take up quite a lot of an hour-long news show today, so obviously we're being selective with what we're covering, but feel free to bring up your own talking points. Anyway, into the article written by Tom Phillips here again. It says, at launch, PlayStation 5 will play almost all, that's it in quote marks by the way, almost all of the top 100 most played PlayStation 4 games via its built-in backwards compatibility support. That's according to the system's lead architect Mark Cherney, who has just wrapped up his hour-long detailed deep dive into the PS5's tech. During the briefing, Cherney explained that getting each game working required individual checking, so Sony had made sure to focus on the top PS4 games based on their overall playtime. This is a quote within the article now. Running PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro titles at boosted frequencies has added complexity, Cherney said. The boost is truly massive this time round, and some game code can't handle it. Testing has to be done on a title-by-title basis. Results are excellent, though. We recently took a look at the top 100 PS4 titles as ranked by playtime, and we're expecting almost all of them to be playable at launch on PS5. And while the PS5 uses fancy SSD memory, you'll still be able to play these games on PS5 using a standard external storage. This appears to be the same method Xbox Series X will handle. This appears to be the same method Xbox Series X will handle. It seems like a word's missing there. But basically, it's the same way that Xbox is going to handle backwards compatibility. But while Microsoft will support all non-Kinect Xbox One games, as well as those Xbox 360 and original Xbox titles in its existing backwards compatibility library, there was no suggestion from Sony of PS1, 2, or 3 backwards compatibility support. You can catch up in the breakdown that Digital Foundry have linked within that article. And our next article of the day jumps onto this one. Written by Charlie Hall from Polygon, says PS5 won't require a proprietary solution for storage upgrades. Internal storage will still need to be certified as compatible by Sony. So the article says, during a scholarly presentation on Wednesday, PS5's lead system architect, Mark Cherney, delivered detailed specifications on the new Sony console. Much of his talk centered around the benefits of its custom-built 825GB internal solid-state drive, or SSD. Hidden among all the feeds and speeds is the fact that PS5 will eventually be upgradable with off-the-shelf additional storage. Meanwhile, the Xbox Series X will require a proprietary expansion card to increase the system storage. On Monday, Microsoft revealed that the internal storage solution for the Xbox Series X will be a 1TB non-volatile memory express, aka NVMe, SSD, which is over 20% bigger than the PS5's drive. The Xbox Series X will have a slot on the back to add another SSD, but it will only accept the Xbox Series X storage expansion card. It's a proprietary 1TB SSD being developed by Seagate. The price remains unknown at this time. The PS5, on the other hand, will have an expansion bay for an off-the-shelf M2 NVMe SSD. That should give Sony's customers more options when it comes to upgrading their console storage. There's one big caveat, however. The PS5's expansion bay won't accept just any M2 SSD. In order to ensure performance compatibility with the PS5's high-speed SSD, and physical compatibility with the size of the expansion bay, Sony will be certifying individual M2 SSDs for the PS5, which uses the new PCI Express 4.0 standard. Cherney said that it's likely that certifications will begin arriving a bit past the console's launch this fall. Cherney stressed during his presentation that it's the nature of the PS5's custom SSD that will change the next generation of PlayStation gaming. I need to blow my nose again, so do you want to run through the specs? We'll try, hopefully, see if we can get it without you R2D2ing across the microphone bit.
Yeah, absolutely no problems. Right, so hopefully you'll be able to make use of this. But the PlayStation 5 hardware specifications are as standard now. Brace yourself, because this is one hell of an art. It's very nerdy, so if you are a nerd, this might suit you down to the ground. But anyway, the CPU, 8 x86 64 AMD Ryzen Zen 2 cores and with 16 threads, variable frequencies up to, mate, this is fucking boring.
Do you know what? Let's leave that then.
Skip.
So
I was boring myself reading the first one.
The SSD inside the PS5 will have a read speed of 5.5 gigs per second, with typical throughput for compressed data of 8 to 9 gigs per second, effectively. Just reading it quickly so we don't have to go through it. It's so fast that it will essentially mitigate the need to throw more RAM into the box. Cherney adds that the benefits of the PS5's SSD will include significant decreases in load times with faster streaming of elements such as textures and world geometry. Patching the games themselves will also be faster, smoother experience for customers, and the SSD will help free up system resources for other tasks like an improved audio experience. Okay, one final paragraph and then we can start to pull it apart. So meeting the full potential of this new storage technology required Cherney and his team to go further than ever before in their design to remove and reduce bottlenecks in the PS5's architecture. That included custom hardware throughout, intended to marry the drive to other key components inside the device, including the CPU and the GPU itself. That's also why it has such an unusual size at 825GB, the perfect amount to meet the needs of its other components, Cherney said. And there we go. Okay, we can leave that there. Who's been looking at engagement rings? That's what you get when you don't have cookies. Basically, every single time I go to a website and they ask if they can use tracking cookies, I'm that person that goes through, unticks everything. So now I just get adverts for anything and everything while they hope that they can advertise to me. So, Danielle's a very lucky lady, but she's already had the engagement ring. So yeah. Okay, it's nerd time. It's usually pronounced M.2. Yeah, I'm not pronouncing M.2. Even Mark Cherney didn't pronounce it as M.2. He pronounced it as M2. So There we go. Updating the discussing now text. So what is your first takeaway from the PS5 deep dive?
I want to say it's an interesting one, but it really isn't for me, who plays video games, who works around video games. The entire deep dive of stuff and the tech that's used in it, it's exactly the same with PCs. It's not just down to the consoles in terms of what it can actually output and stuff like that. My knowledge of it isn't great. Like I know a good graphics card and I know a good CPU. That's about and I know a good RAM. That's probably where my knowledge finishes with this kind of stuff. So I do need boffins to be able to explain all of this to me. However, the little diagrams at the bottom helps when it comes to SSD speeds. When it's saying like the PS5 target is to load up 2 GB in less than half a second, 0.27 seconds, compared to the PS4 where 1 GB is loaded in 20 seconds. That for me, showing little visuals like that for people who aren't technically minded works a hell of a lot better. Two things that I will take away from this though is the first article that we looked at with the backwards compatibility. It stated that you'll be able to play the top 100. You'll be able to try. I'm burping. That's why I'm large exhales. They are using the top 100 games to be able to have backwards compatibility. However, I was 95. In fact, I was as little as 90% sure that I thought the backwards compatibility was going to be across all old PlayStation consoles. Did anybody else get that vibe?
I believe it was said initially, or something of that ilk. So that's something that has been kind of picked on ever since. So going back to the Wired article a year ago, whatever it was, and they were talking that the PlayStation 5, maybe they didn't go as far as saying it will be PS 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm pretty sure it was something along the lines of fully backwards compatible, which means the same thing. And since then, they haven't touched that, which has led a lot of people saying to look at the fact that, okay, you were speaking about backwards compatible, but now you are saying very, very minimal stuff. So it's not so much the elephant in the room, it's the elephant that isn't in the room. It's like you've mentioned something and now you're not mentioning it anymore. So it's the fact that it's the fact that it's not been spoken about kind of makes people think, okay, well, if you had it, you would be singing about it at this point in time. He did in the presentation talk about the easiest way to have backwards compatibility would be to have the chipsets from the PS4, PS3, and so on. He says, but doing all of that would be expensive. So he did touch on PS 1, 2, 3, 4 multiple times, and he touched on them when he started talking about backwards compatibility. But the only confirmation we got was that the top 100 PS4 games will almost entirely be playable on PS4, which is nice, but it's also not perfect. I think you can the fact that it's almost entirely and that's a very selective statement. Okay? Are all of your games backwards compatible? Yes, nice. Job is good. Are they all backwards compatible? Well, they almost all are for the top 100. So you've picked the best 100 and even all of those. So basically what you're saying is no. In nice ways is no. I mean, that doesn't impact me. That will probably impact someone like you more than it will like me. Obviously, you play... were you supposed to mute your mic then? You're muted now, though.
Oh, for fuck's sake. My nose isn't leaking, but I've got something up there that's stopping me from breathing properly. So far, I tell you what, I'll just use this opportunity while you're talking to clear my throat. Turns out I muted it after the fact.
So if you are now like ploughed into the hard shoulder or into a central reservation after hearing over the microphone, then that was Bibby clearing out his sinuses whilst muting his microphone to talk.
Oh god.
So yeah, I mean the backwards compatibility thing, I don't have time to play all the games that are out now that I want to play. So playing all the games, there has to be a specific reason, a major need for me. So that is lost on me. But for someone like you that will play, I mean, you've probably played retro games, at least 2 or 3 in the last week or two, you've probably gone back and touched other stuff, which is what she said, which that appeals to you. For me, it's neither here nor there, but it's the fact that they've come out and saying fully backwards compatibility, which then drops down to almost all of the top 100 most recent ones. It is a bit different.
Oh God! Right, so the Xbox One now. I'm trying to think of the terminology. The Xbox One now can play Xbox 360 games, and as far as I'm aware, the original Xbox games as well. Is that correct?
Maybe.
So it can definitely play 360 games, but not them all. And it can. I'm almost certain that it can play some original Xbox games, but that's not done via the chipset. That's done via emulation. So if the emulation part was the problem, then surely the easiest way for you to be able to play these old games is by either adding them to PlayStation Now or Games Pass or something like that, so you can avoid it altogether and just play it from the server, basically like what Google Stadia is. But let's not talk about that. But to have it on things like that, I mean, even if you was to, that probably won't work. Actually, I was about to say if you could put the disc in, it'd recognize that you've got it, and then you'd be able to take it from a Sony server somewhere and play it that way, either stream it or re-download it to your console and emulate it that way. I don't know, but it's weird that they're just taking the top 100, but I imagine it will take time. I mean, not every single Xbox 360 game is available to be able to play it on your Xbox now. Even when you put it in, it will have to download a patch of some sort. But they're 5 years into doing this kind of emulation by putting your disc in and then being able to play old games. And not every single 360 game is available to play on the Xbox. So I wouldn't expect every single game, but I was most certainly under the impression that if I was to put a PlayStation 1 disc, 2 disc in, I'd probably be able to play it via an emulator on the console. Emulators now, especially for PlayStation 1 and 2, are so far in advance that you can pretty much download one and play one on your PC if you wanted to, especially PlayStation 1. I've got an RG350, which is a very small retro emulator. It looks like a very small Nintendo Switch, but that can play PlayStation 1 games on it, no problem. Like I've got a load of backup ROMs that I've been playing on that I actually own, believe it or not. Well, for those of you that have been knocking around here for long enough will know that I'm a hoarder when it comes to PlayStation 1 and 2 games. So playing backups of those are absolutely no problem. But not being able to have to set up and unplug everything to be able to stream from a PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 would have been great if I could just stream it from the PlayStation 5 itself. But it is what it is. I'm sure in 2 or 3 years' time, they'll unlock the emulation part of it like Xbox have been doing for the last 5 years. That'd be great.
Jumping back into the comments, in the graphic they showed about backwards compatibility, they had the PS4 logo and under it left a space for PS3, PS2 and PS1 logos, but the graphics just went off.
Okay.
It's almost like let's leave that alone. There we go. I have the actual graphic on screen because I was just going to bring a different article which wasn't on the agenda, but it's one that I saw last night. So let me bring this up first. This is on Kotaku, written by Chris Kohler, and that image there, backwards compatibility. PS5 native mode. PS4 Pro is the Pro Legacy mode. PS4 Legacy mode. Spaces underneath for maybe 3 more titles there. 3 more machines. Nothing. Yeah,
honestly, it'd be great if we could do that. It'd save me so much time and effort, and I mean, it would look so much better. There is a lot of people, and that this isn't me having a go. There is a lot of people who will use emulators, even though they own the game on PC, just to be able to stream it a lot better. However, I'm such a nerd when it comes to that stuff anyway. I want to be able to use the original hardware because I think it just works a little bit better, and I don't have to worry about Game Frips. Game Frips.
All of the Game Frips. These Frips are skaming. These games are fripping.
So yeah, it just normal things like that, and obviously using the PlayStation 2 controller.
Game Frips aren't normal things.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be great if I could do that. I mean, it hasn't bothered me since the PlayStation 2 come out to be able to stream now anyway. So it just made my life a little bit easier. However, moving on to the next point, which was on the second article, as I've been rereading it, I don't remember or haven't come across the fact that it doesn't say that you can put, which uses PCI. I mean, this could be it. The PCI Express 4.0 standard. Can you put an external hard drive into this?
They did say, I'm fairly sure.
They said that you can swap the hard drive that's already in it as long as it's compatible.
There we go. If you go down, go down to the PS5 hardware specs, it says expandable storage, NVMe SSD expansion bay, and external storage USB hard drive support.
Okay.
So I believe he did say it last night. There's a lot, like I said, I've not retained 95% of the information from last night because it was way out of my depth. But jumping onto an article. Let's jump on this one quickly. This one is really good in terms of, obviously we're talking about PS5. This article written by Mike Fahey for Kotaku UK compares the PS5 and the Xbox Series X tech specs, because a lot of people have focused on the fact that the Xbox stats almost entirely are higher than the PS5's. But this one is fairly decent at saying what that really means. What that means right now is nothing. Because have you played any games on either of them? I mean, the fact that the Xbox One X is better than the PS4 Pro is irrelevant, because which one have most people played on? That's
yeah.
And what are the games like and so on. So this article, let's jump through quickly. I won't do any of the reading. You can read the article yourself. It will be in the show notes when we upload the show as a podcast. But written for Kotaku UK by Mike Fahey, he compares all of the individual elements, and he starts off with the CPU. So the PS5 has a custom Zen 2 CPU with 8 cores at 3.5 gigahertz at a variable frequency, whilst the Xbox Series X has almost the exact same thing, but a 3.8 gig rather than 3.5. With 3.66 gigs with simultaneous multi-threading. Yeah, I know. I'm all for a bit of simultaneous multi-threading as well. I know what you're thinking. But so these are two versions of custom. These are two custom versions of CPUs built using AMD's Zen 2 microarchitecture. That's the same microarchitecture that powers third generation of Ryzen PC CPUs. What's different is how the two consoles utilize their CPU's power. Microsoft says that the Xbox Series X CPU is fixed at 3.8 gigs for games reliant on a single core, dropping to 3.6 for applications that take advantage of multiple cores via simultaneous multi-threading. Then it says, Sony says that the PS5 CPU and GPU both run at variable frequency. The console will constantly monitor... there's a spurious S there. The console will constantly monitor the demand the game puts on CPU and GPU and adjust frequency accordingly. This novel approach to balancing power and cooling means that the system should always run at a consistent power level, making it easier to cool, which was quite useful for someone like me whose PS4 Pro sounds like it's in a wind tunnel all the time. The fact that he's saying that happens is because your CPU and your GPU kick into life, use more power, so suddenly it goes, crap, there's lots, so let's cool it down. Whereas if they maintain a level of cooling, a level of heat, then they know how much cooling will be needed. So basically, rather than having peaks and troughs, it will just stay at a flatter heat throughout. I'm just going to blow my nose, bear with me.
Okay, no worries. So Graham is currently blowing his nose. I feel like I need to clear my sinus again. So once Graham has arrived back from blowing said nose,
it'll be like tag.
I will hopefully mute my mic.
Tag team while we team mucus. Welcome to the mucus station. So then on to GPUs. So the PS5 uses custom RDNA to 10.28 teraflops, 36 CUs at 2.223 gigs. Xbox custom RDNA 2 with 12 teraflops as opposed to 10.28 on the PlayStation. 52 CUs as opposed to 36 at 1.825 gigs as opposed to 2.23. So what that says, Mike tries to break that out because that meant nothing to me reading that. So the article then says, as with CPU, both consoles use variations of the same basic hardware. In this case, a custom AMD RDNA GPU. RDNA stands for Radeon DNA, the architecture being AMD's most recent graphics card. In terms of the teraflops, the Xbox One has a small lead. It has 52 compute units compared to the PlayStation 5's 36. Let's all nod as if we know what that means. Best line in the article, that, by the way. Let's all nod as if we know what that means. Anyway, a teraflop is a measure of a processor's mathematical prowess. For every teraflop, the processor can calculate 1 trillion floating point calculations per second. The more teraflops, the more computational power. The more computational power, the better the processor is equipped to perform the complex math that games turn into fancy visuals. In the grand scheme of things, a difference of 1.72 teraflops isn't huge. So, Xbox has a better processor, not necessarily that much, but it is. Computer units, or CUs, are like clusters of tiny CPUs that a graphics processor unit uses to compute stuff. The more CUs, the more powerful the GPU. Comparing CUs between the Xbox Series X and PS5 is much more telling than teraflops. The PlayStation essentially has the equivalent of a Radeon RX 5700 graphics card, while the Xbox Series X has a Radeon RX Vega 56. I hit up the GPU check website to compare the two cards, and there is a noticeable difference. So there you go. You can see they've compared essentially those two. Obviously, it's not a direct comparison, but this is the closest comparison that they can get throughout. And on the whole, the AMD Radeon, with the exception of World War Z, performs better at delivering FPS. So essentially what they're saying there is the Xbox potentially, just off that one component, has a better potential of delivering higher FPS in most top-end games. So then, jumping into... So yeah, keep in mind these are PC benchmarks. The way that the custom GPUs and the Series X perform is going to rely heavily on how they are used. But once again, the PS5 can adjust its GPU and CPU performance based on demand. So whilst the X4 has more brawn, the PlayStation 5 might have more finesse. Then onto memory. Both using 16 gig GDDR6s, with PlayStation having a 256 meg bus, whilst Xbox has a 320. PlayStation has a 448 gig per second bandwidth, whilst the Xbox Series X has 10 gig. It splits its 16 gig into two components. 10 gigs got 560, whilst 6 gigs got 336. But jumping into that, let me see, where was the bit? I was hoping there was a quick summary. So yeah, PS5 memory runs at a speed of 448 gig per second across the board. The Xbox Series X splits it into two sections. 10 gigs run at 560, 6 gigs run at 336. Slower standard memory is allocated to operations and sound that don't require a lot of speed, while GPU... So yeah, essentially, they both use the same hardware, but slightly differently.
Yeah. Do you not think that we're in the same situation now, and it's not really... even though we are going into a new generation, nothing's changed. So, like, if you are going to be going to a place where the graphics are supreme, it runs faster. It's basically a small PC. That's kind of like what we've got now with the Xbox Series X, and the PlayStation is just... I mean, albeit it is still a fantastic place to be able to take your games, purely not just because of the exclusives that we've got, but you've got the likes of the PlayStation 4 Pro, which can output a stupid amount of resolutions, and for it to look as good as it possibly can on a PlayStation platform. Do you not think that's the same situation that we're in now? So Xbox is still churning out the big dog when it comes to console gaming, but PlayStation is still going to be a place where you're going to get exclusives. Do you not think that the status quo's kind of still been the same?
Was my mic dead for ages then? Because it could have been. Oh, well.
No, don't think. I mean, I heard you blowing your nose and stuff like that.
Yeah, you would have heard that.
Regardless.
You would have heard that anyway, because I only mute my mic for the stream rather than for the Discord chat. Hopefully, can someone just let me know in the chat if you can hear my voice? If you can, then that meant that I was probably only muted for a few seconds. Yes, it was dead. Okay, all right. Well, it's not now. But yeah, essentially what I was saying then is, maybe you kind of summed it up there. I'll just jump onto the last bit here, which is internal storage. So the PS5 has an 825 gig SSD. The Xbox has a 1 terabyte SSD. But I'll jump into the paragraph afterwards to see what the differences are. So here's where the big difference lies. Holy hell, that PlayStation custom SSD is fast, super fast, twice the speed of Xbox Series X's SSD. It might be smaller, but that PS5 hard drive is going to smoke the Xboxes. As lead PS5 system architect Mark Cherney put it during today's technical presentation, developers might even need to slow down the drive to keep the games from loading too fast. And the way that he said that is... quite often, you have scenes in games where you have to travel down a hallway, or you have to wait for something to open up in front of you and stuff like that. And he's saying that the drive is so fast that they don't need to do that anymore. It used to be restricted by the hardware. Now the hardware is kind of going to be restricted by the game in terms of, okay, don't load it that quickly, we don't need it just yet. But this was the key bit, RPG class. So this is them classifying the consoles. The PS5 is a rogue, whilst the Xbox is a warrior. So with the information we have now, it looks like Microsoft and Sony rolled 2 different characters from the next round of the console wars RPG. Microsoft put most of its points into strength, creating a beefer machine that can be matched in terms of power. That can't be matched in terms of power. Sony, on the other hand, created a much more agile console, sacrificing power for utility. We'll see how it turns out once we can actually play games on these damn things. And yes, that makes the Nintendo Switch a wizard. Pa-pow! So, yeah, I think that kind of is the best way of looking at it for me. I've seen fanboys on each side of the debate going, yeah, but this one's a beast. And it's like, yeah, but it's also dumb and clumsy. And it's like, have you played any game on them yet? Have you played? Well, you can't say for certain until you've done 2 things, which requires at least 3 games. You need a game that you can play on both of them. So let's say GTA 6 that you can play on both consoles. But then you need ideally games that you can use as a comparison. So a Gran Turismo versus a Forza. But if not, a Gears of War versus the new Uncharted or a Spider-Man or whatever. You need a console-specific game on each format, and then one game that can play across formats. Most likely the game across formats, you won't notice the difference, really. Some games you probably will. But it's where you see those games that have been designed specifically for that architecture. And does having an extra 175 gig on your SSD make a difference? If the SSD can go boom, 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 load it like that, does that make a difference? It could do. It could absolutely do, but we don't really know. Could that rapid speed that's so fast that you don't... that it's almost too fast, could that be good? It could be, but we don't know. So at this point in time, they both sound really good. I like the fact that they have their own nuances. Mark Cherney's conference last night was all about using the technology and finding ways to bring it to fruition. So not just going, boom, all of the data and the stats and the hardware, but how can they make it work for the best? And the logic, there was logic for the reason they've got a weird-sized SSD. And part of it was cost, but he went down something, I can't remember what it was. I'm going to use the word cause, but I don't think it was cause. He was saying their chipset or something had 12 cores or whatever it was, and that, when they amplify that up to the SSD size, it was basically, due to the speed that they were loading it off data, 825 gig was a perfect size for it. So not only did they didn't need to go bigger because it would just add more cost, but also it was perfect for the system that they had there, which I'm thinking, okay, well, that works. It doesn't need to just be a round number if it doesn't need to be, which was nice. That said, if someone says, do you want 825 gig or 1 terabyte, I know which one I choose. So swings and roundabouts.
Well, I mean, we haven't even seen any screenshots from any game that's on these new gen platforms yet, so I don't understand how people can... I mean, I understand people being a fanboy of a certain product, especially if it's like a PlayStation or a Microsoft console, purely because of how long they've been about. There will be people who would have bought the original PlayStation and never bought... the original PlayStation 1 and then never even looked at an Xbox, and vice versa with the original Xbox and a PlayStation, so I understand their standpoint. But from our perspective, we've always got eyes as to what's happening on any console, regardless of whether or not it's a Nintendo Switch, a 3DS, a PSP, a PS Vita, or whatever it could be. We're always looking to see what's available and out at the time. There is going to be exclusives on any console that comes out. So we've kind of got a look. I mean, we've got Guilt on, I don't know if you've heard, there's Guilt on Google Stadia that went down an absolute storm. The only exclusives that they've got at the moment.
All I'm going to take from that sentence is right now, Stadia has Guilt. And so they fucking should, taking our money for a piece of shit.
But, I mean, they're always going to be fanboys. One will always outperform in one department, but be a little bit less in another department. It's always going to be the nature of the beast. The Yak are using completely different parts. They're using different processors. They're using different power units in the inside. It's always going to be... There's always going to be a difference. It's just where you see yourself down the line. If you're going to afford both, then you got the best of both worlds. You just need to keep an eye on where your friends are going to be playing first and foremost, where the exclusives are, and what kind of games that you're into. That should be the only reasons why you're voicing your tipping your hat in it. Just look for those things. Don't just look at the specs and go, "Fuck, that's definitely the best play." I mean, look at the processing speed. Ooh wee! But then you go over there and you've got no one to play with, and then you're realizing that the games that they've got over there doesn't speak to you. So make your decision based on where your friends are going to be playing, what the games are you enjoy the most.
I imagine even half of that will be irrelevant by the end of the next gen. Where your friends are going to be playing, they're all going to be playing across both formats, with crossplay continuing to go as it is. So it'd be more a case of choose based on what your experiences are as a gamer in terms of the games, like Viv just said. If you want to play Xbox exclusives, then make that be the decision. If you want to play PlayStation exclusives, make that decision. The reality is they're both extremely powerful machines that do the same stuff with their own nuances, and that is where you should be making. Yeah, that shouldn't be a part of your decisions. The decision should be on what you want to play, not how many. Because who sits there thinking, do you know what, this game is class? That's probably down to the fact that the NVMe SSD has 2.4 gigs of raw data and another 4.8 gigs of compressed data, and obviously there's I/O throughput as well. I mean, who sits there and thinking that? No one does. And if you do, get the fuck out of here. I mean, that's what it is.
Only the boffins.
Yeah, no, even the boffins. You just think, oh wow, that looks sick, and then you crack on, and that's it. So the differences. I mean, there's been a few different kind of analogies. Let's run through in the chat. Gatekeeper says. I worked it out that the Xbox has more power, but the PS5 is faster. I don't know what difference that makes. And that's the key. I mean, they both have a strong positive there, but nobody knows what really is. And David says, so it's like the Fast and Furious, the American muscle car, Xbox, versus the Euro and Japanese cars that do the same thing, but each has their own strengths. So you've got the muscle car versus the drifty sideways cars, and yeah, which one's the best? Although, to be fair, if you say Tokyo Drift is the first Fast and Furious film, then get the fuck out of here. The PS5 SSD is juicy. Good morning, Magic Man. Is juicy for load-intensive games like Pillars of Eternity 2, which on PS4 is meant to be horrible. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. I mean, the Xbox Series X's SSD was class as well. I believe from I swear I saw a Social Asset. I did, yes, that's what it was. I saw a Social Asset where they had a game, can't remember what it was, loading up on two consoles, and one game was in it and the other one was like a good 50 seconds of load screen before it threw it in it. So they will both have that. The differences will, I'd say, probably be negligible. I'm assuming it could be. There could be differences that stack up as we get more time, but at this point in time, we can't say too much. Rise, good morning, Rise. I want to say that PlayStation had a perfect opportunity to blow Xbox out of the water after the way Xbox One and PS4 went. However, in the battle between the two, because of most people switching over, I believe that it will be the PS5 that will win again. By the way, I'm a PC Xbox guy, just giving my honest opinion. Honest opinions are welcome, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Mr. T says, both beastly consoles, but seem like Sony focusing on loading times with PS5, hence the custom SSD. Microsoft focusing on CPU and GPU power/speed. Exciting times. I shall be getting both. Agreed.
I mean, as long as I can boot up a game of PES or any other game that... I mean, I think there's only like 3 or 4 games that I actually play on my PS4, and then when I actually turn them on, it sounds like a jet engine. If we could just try and quieten that down a little, I'll probably buy that console, because it is horrific, especially when I'm playing in the bedroom and Samantha's in bed trying to watch TV, and I see it going from I see the volume going from 8 to 16 because I've booted up PES or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Mark Cherney did actually touch on that yesterday, and he was saying you will find that, and I am absolutely going to butcher what he said, and I apologise that I understand before I say it's going to be wrong, but he was essentially saying everything that you're looking at on screen is essentially made up of triangles and squares. It's probably not what he was saying, but when you're in a static screen, like a menu screen, or a screen that isn't as intensive as you'd expect, you can quite often get the console like booting out shitloads of heat and noise as the fans kick into life, and that's due to the way that the chipset is calculating those triangles and I don't know if it was squares or rectangles or whatever he was saying, but in a flat screen that's usually a bit more what you'd expect to be a bit lamer, it essentially is doing more work because the chipset's been made to be over intensive, and when it's trying to calm it down, it's like that's why he gave an example of Horizon Zero Dawn. That's why he hears the fans kick in every time he's playing Horizon Zero Dawn on his PS4 Pro. He goes into the minimap screen, which is much less visually dense, a much lower visual fidelity than the rest of the game. He goes into that, and that's when his PS4 Pro goes, I can't handle it! So, but that's where he was talking about the fact that they're going to try and... the way I kind of took it on board, which also might be wrong, was they're going to try and make sure that the PS4 runs at a high level of... the PS5 runs at a high level of output, even if it doesn't need it as much, so that way that they can maintain the heat and maintain the need for cooling, which then would mean that because they have consistent level of cooling, everything will be much lower, and so yeah, no more fan destroying. As Codman uses a fan destroyer, says Spike. Good morning, Spike. Also, share Twitch. Thank you very much for the follow. Very, very much appreciated, by the way. Dad Lad Gaming says, can't hear it all now. I can share you.
Yeah, he said just above. Mine was horrible with some thermal paste. Yeah, I'm gonna buy some thermal paste actually.
Actually, it would be worth sharing that with me as well, because my PS4 Pro is an absolute jet engine. I've only had it 6 months. Well, it's actually had about 8 months now. But yeah, it gets to the point where it'll have blue screened so many times because it's overheated. So yeah, share it away. By this I mean the battle between the PS5 and the Xbox Series. Yeah. We understood that one. Cheers, Raz. The biggest talking point for me is that they need to be cross-platform on most games. I think I was saying then, I think the seeds have been sown for that. Fortnite, I believe Warzone is cross-platform. PUBG is now cross-platform with cross-platform parties finally. I mean, these are only BRs, but that's obviously where you get the need for... at the moment, there is a big need for it because everyone wants to play games with 100 people and they want to be able to play with friends and different... Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, cross-platform I definitely will see as standard. That will be an industry standard at least by middle of next gen, if not the end. I did the thermal paste, all the pads, the lot. It doesn't help in the long run because of the way the PS4 is. Mine was silent for months, but then went straight back up to the jet engine. I'm not too bothered about the noise.
Yeah.
It's just the overheating and turning off that's kind of pissing me off. But hey.
The noise is doing me head in, but I mean, if I can do it once every 6 months and it works, and it's worth doing for me. Especially when I'm trying to stream as well, and like I need to put a noise gate on. Especially when I'm playing PES, I need to put a noise gate on or something because it is just so loud that it just makes the stream sound a little bit shitter.
I was thinking about PES last night as that presentation was on, because when I'm playing PES Jet Engine again, and I was thinking, like, I was always like, is PES visually intensive? Is the Fox engine using so much data or using so much processing power that it needs so much cooling? But it could be. I mean, it could be. Nobody knows. Somebody probably knows, but I don't know. But Mark Cheney's conversation last night, PES, if you look at PES, whilst there is a lot going on visually, on screen, compared to Uncharted, where you're looking out over a cliff and you've got like almost something that looks like a ray tracing scene. You've got water, you've got mountainscapes, you've got birds flying by, you've got greenery, you've got light rays coming down. That is much more visually intense than a football stadium, for example. So I'm wondering, as I'm sat there last night, is it the engine that's using so much of the processing power, or is it what Mark Cheney was saying about the Horizon menus, or Spike saying about the COD menus? Is it the fact that it's actually quite simple, that the engines are like going, oh, we've got to slam on the brakes, and that brakes is causing the heat, which is kind of counterintuitive, but that might be what it is with football games. Also, I've got to say the other day that... Oh, go.
No, it's fine. You go, carry on.
Rice says, also I forgot to say the other day, one of the games I cannot wait for, that we didn't mention, that I reckon is waiting on the new console release, is Dying Light 2. I'm so fucking hyped for that game. We'll get Bibby on screen shitting himself for that, that's fine. No, can I be just shit making games, Kappa? Spike, leave it alone. Enix says, was it a plane or my PS4? There we go! The resident Xbox fanboy who tweeted last night saying PS5 something, Xbox beast everywhere else! But yeah.
Didn't you get banned?
Yeah, that's what I said. I responded saying, doesn't really matter if you're banned though, does it?
But yeah, it's... I do need to. I've just ordered some actually. It was how much was it? How much we just paid? It's like £3.50 for some thermal paste. So you don't need that much on it, do you? You just need like a pea size on that, and then a pea size on my PC as well. Might as well do my PC while I'm doing my PlayStation, and just it's going to be getting a pounding, I think.
Which is also what she said.
Out. Yes, well, she's not when Resident Evil comes out. Let's face it.
Big Zombie Monkey says, if we're about games I can't wait for, tomorrow is the day. UK can go on full lockdown because once I have my Animal Crossing. Well, there you go. I mean, it's maybe it's literally Doomsday because Doom comes out and Animal Crossing does, and all the schools close, which allows everyone to stay at home and play the games. So yeah, I'm going to be sat there in my underpants with my Doomslayer full helmet on, and just, do you know, I was going to say I was going to answer the door to the milkman, but two issues with that: one, I don't have a milkman, and two, even if I did add a milkman, there's no way he's going to be coming to my door for the next 2 months or whatever. So yeah, cheers, mate. Contacted some people, got it mapped.
Just based.
Oh, baby's frozen. Oh, he's back. There we go. What you said?
Sorry, I thought you'd stopped there. Obviously, it just decided to shit the bed again. But Doom on Animal Crossing do come out tomorrow. I'm just going to say that Doom currently is sitting at an 88 on Metacritic, and obviously tomorrow's show we'll find out who got the closest to that and Animal Crossing.
Spoilers, not me.
I don't think Animal Crossing's reviews have hit Metacritic yet. I'm just going to have a quick look. But Doom on PS4 is currently sitting at 88.
That's pretty class. That's pretty class.
Is it Animal Crossing's New Horizons? Oh, it is. Ooh, this is a serious. I'm way out.
Oh, Baby's malfunctioning. Did you say you are way out then?
Yeah, on Animal Crossing. Do you want to know what it's currently sitting at?
No spoilers. We will share that tomorrow. So if you are watching and you haven't already, we have tweeted, and we can share it again on social media, an idea of... Actually, no, we won't share the full sheet again, even though some people can find it if they look back. We're going to try keep it quiet now so we don't all share each other's scores. But essentially, there have been a number of games coming out that we've given our Metacritic predictions on. We're going to see how close we are within that. So, yes, I'm miles off on the first one. I can't remember where I'm on for the second one, but we'll find out tomorrow as we start to unpack some of those scores. So feel free to check in 10 a.m. tomorrow. One thing I'm going to do is just because a bunch of people might have missed what we've said, and we were kind of jokingly taking the mick out of Jordan's comment about the Xbox being better. That article there, if you do want to check it, that's the one that I said obviously is a really good balanced article. The only thing we can say is both consoles have their positives, both consoles have their negatives, but none of that matters until we know what the games play like. So there you go. Read that. One's a rogue, one's a warrior, one has strength, one has speed and finesse. So what's better? Nobody knows. We'll find out as the games come. We will find out as the games come. I mean, it's one of those on the fence scenarios. Which one's better? Both. Choose for yourself. I mean, we're not going to make a decision because nobody really can. But a lot of people forget Microsoft purchased a shit ton of studios. Nobody's forgetting that. We've been mentioning that every single day. Like Ninja Theory and everything. Every conference was Microsoft at like... is it? I can't remember. Is it Worldwide Studios? Is that what they call it? Or is that Sony's? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, pretty much... Something, but pretty much every conference they added a new studio to it. So yeah, no one's forgetting that. I think the only thing that goes against Microsoft with that is they've said there will be no Series X exclusives for a year or so, and they bought up all of those studios fairly late on. So I think it could be. I mean, I could be completely wrong with this prediction, but kind of what Rise has said previously, the fact that Sony are on the front foot at the end of the last generation could see Sony take an early lead. But if Microsoft have done everything right and their power turns out to be very, very necessary in the console, and all these studios start firing games out a year or two into it, it could balance and then flip the other way quite easily. Which would be nice, because then you can get a reason to buy Sony early and then Xbox later on, and you can keep the two. The job's good. Xbox Game Studios and Worldwide Studios, yeah. PS5 having some backwards compatibility is why I'd stay with PlayStation. Only some, though. Only some. Not some. You can get almost all of the top 100 PS4 games, but nothing confirmed on PS3, 2, or 1 yet. I had 85 for Doom. Think a few people need to rate it down a touch. I think a few people need to rate it down a lot. I was a little bit. I think I was 82 initially, but then because it was, I came in and I saw that other people had 82, so I went, oh, forget it, I'll go even lower, and went boop, and I bottomed it out.
I don't think no one's been as skeptical as Rise has with their Doom. Oh, by the way, just throwing that out there.
Got too much invested to swap again. See, I've got both. I could swap quite easily, particularly with the crossplay. That's what changes it for me. I have an Xbox, but everyone I play with has a PS4. So crossplay changes that. If you have the money to get a derivative of the T99 paste, it handles up to 1000 degrees Celsius compared to standard 300 degrees Celsius for PC thermal paste, so it'll take a lot longer to break down. Correct! We all just nod in agreement. So better warming paste. There we go. Enix says Sony had barely any exclusives at the at the start of the PS4 life, so there is time. Exactly, that's the thing. They had barely any exclusives. What they did have, though, was a marketing plan that pushed a lot of stuff that was coming. Not only did they have a marketing plan that pushed a lot of the games that were coming, they also had a marketing plan that took the right swipes at the competitors and stuff like that. So they did really well at that. And Microsoft's marketing plan at the moment is smashing it with the likes of GameCloud, Games Pass, xCloud, and all the rest. And yeah, so they are smashing it. All they need, if they throw the titles on it, then it could be no one's generation. It could be everyone's generation. So that's what we can hope for. Killzone, the knack, mate. I mean, I'm on board for Killzone, but not for knack. Although I was sat in the PS Twitch chat yesterday waiting for about half an hour before it went live at 4 to see if they were going to go live with a countdown. And someone in the chat, the first comment I saw was, "Anyone else here for Knack Me?" And it was just like, nope. Okay. And if you wondered why, there you go. There's the reasoning in the chat. Jordan says, "I worked on Knack." Anyway, speaking about Microsoft and everything, let's jump into our next bit of news, because we said it was probably going to be a meaty show today following yesterday's, and we would spend a bunch of time dissecting what we can make sense of anyway from Mark Cherney's press conference yesterday. But now let's jump into the next bit of news, which is written by Matt Wales for Eurogamer, and he says Microsoft reveals and then retracts a Thanksgiving 2020 launch date for the Xbox Series X. Says it's still committed to holiday 2020 released. I completely missed this, so this is news to me.
Jordan actually messaged me yesterday with this.
There we go. Following the surprise appearance of a Thanksgiving 2020 release date for the Xbox Series X on a number of Microsoft's international websites earlier today, the company has called the listing inaccurate, reiterating its commitment to launching the console in holiday 2020. The Thanksgiving Xbox Series X release date, which would have placed the console's launch as Thursday 26th of November on the calendar, was initially spotted in an image at the bottom of several international versions of Microsoft's Series X product page, including that of the UK. However, somewhat suspiciously, the US iteration of the site continued to list the system's launch as the previously announced holiday 2020 window. Now, Microsoft has moved to clear up that discrepancy. In a statement posted to Twitter, Xbox Live Director of Programming Larry... See, this guy, Major Nelson, I always thought he was Herb, but his name is H-R-Y-B. Is it Hrib? Hrib?
I thought it would be Hrib.
But anyway, Major Nelson says, an Xbox product page in some regions inaccurately listed the launch date for Xbox Series X as Thanksgiving 2020. We are committed to launching holiday 2020. Of course, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise if Microsoft ultimately reconfirmed a Thanksgiving release date for Xbox Series X following today's accidental reveal. It's one of the biggest shopping holidays of the year in the US, and all three previous core Xbox systems have launched in that same window. For now, though, the official word remains holiday 2020. If it's confirmed that Xbox Series X news year after, then Digital Foundry... Check out the link in the article there. So, it isn't, but definitely isn't, but possibly could be out for Thanksgiving, so November 26th. 2020.
I absolutely believe it is. It's far too much of a coincidence for it to be on global Xbox websites, for then it to be retracted. It's definitely been done by accident, but I think it's the official message. They were very, very quick to get rid of it. It'd be very weird if I keep saying very, but
very.
Very. It would be strange for every single website. A very localized website for everyone to have the same date if it was a mistake, barring the US, obviously. So yeah, I do think it'll be the 26th. I do think it'll be around that time.
Yeah, I think it could be as well. And my thoughts are, what if they've all sat down and gone, so we're all on for Thanksgiving? That's when everyone's going to be out, Black Friday-ish, obviously. Thanksgiving, 26th of October. the day after is Black Friday. That's when it is. So they want it out then when everyone's going, oh my god, it's Black Friday. I mean, in real terms, I mean, everyone could be out trying to snap up more bog rolls by then. Nobody knows the current state. But that point of the bog rolls leads to coronavirus, which then leads me to, what if they were about to launch Thanksgiving 2020, but now they're having conversations of, actually, can we definitely deliver that at this point in time? Because a lot's happened in the last 2 weeks in terms of shutdowns and quarantines and delays and stuff. So maybe they were doing that. And the reason they're sticking with holidays at the moment is because that then gives them another month of shipping time to do all of the logistical side of things to get the consoles from productions into retail stores. So yeah, it could, for all we know, it could be that. I mean, I would be surprised if they've got to the point where they're having conversations where someone that's dealing with, I'm assuming, a very complex content management system, although it'd probably be quite simple on the front end, but a huge content management system that allows them to tweak Microsoft's websites. I mean, this is pretty much the internet company. That, I mean, I understand that was meant to sound daft, but Microsoft, not just Xbox, the company that owns Microsoft, don't edit things on their websites lightly. It's not like seeing Wesley Sneijder's shirt added to the Manchester United website years and years ago, thinking, oh, that's it, done deal then, and then next day it's like, oh fuck, sorry, it's gone and everything. Microsoft don't do that. Xbox don't do that, not to that level. So having it on the product page of their biggest item of the next 7 years, it's got to be, you've got to feel it's come from a serious conversation. Someone's put it in there and got the wrong end of the stick. No, not now, take it down, kind of thing. And whether that is just a case of, yeah, actually, we don't want to confirm anything yet because we don't want PlayStation to go, okay, well, we're on the 25th of November. Or whether it's coronavirus, don't know. But yeah, I agree. I definitely, I'm in the same boat as you. I think that's what they're looking at. I actually like Knack, surprisingly tough. One big thing is that they have not announced Lockhart. I think it might be the low-end Series X that's close to PS5's 9.2 teraflops to have a cheaper entry-level option that could do 1080 60 FPS. Yeah, that's a good point. We're all quite quiet. We've just had Series X chat, but we've not had anything on the different versions of the console yet. Maybe they're waiting to see, like Sony's hand now. Maybe they've given their information enough so that they can hold the rest of their hand back and see what Sony plays. Xbox names annoy me. Xbox 360, it was a rectangle. Xbox X, etc. At least Sony keep it simple. PS1, 2, 3, 4. Why? Excuse me. I swear the Xbox after this new one will call be the Xbox X, Blackadder X, Scorpion X. That's kind of what we've been saying every day.
Yeah. Well, there is a reason why it's been stated like that in the first place. I'm 90% sure I've already mentioned this story on here before, but they didn't want to call the after the Xbox One. They didn't want to call it the Xbox 2 because the Xbox 3 was the PlayStation 3 was. So if they was to give it a lower number, it would look like an inferior console, which is why they came up with the 360 name to absolutely try and blow the water. I don't know where it came from. Is it because of the swirly thing on the front of the console? I don't know.
Yes.
Have I frozen?
Yes. That's why I'm not doing it either, but I keep blinking.
Oh, he's gone! Oh my god! Baby's frozen. All right, babe, just let it go. Frozen puns on ice cream. Please don't unfollow. Please don't. So please stay in the chat. It's fine. No more frozen puns. Why does Resident Evil 3 have so many zombies in the streets? Is this a joke? They were out looking for the loo roll. Hey, it's COVID simulator. That's what it is. But yes, the Xbox. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. I didn't know that until you mentioned it. That the 360 didn't want to be the 2 while the PS3 had the 3. That's a cool point. But where do you go with that? Do you go with 360 and then at the next generation, do you announce a number that's lower, or do you go? I think it's kind of hard. I mean, the only thing you can really do there is to do take something from Nintendo or Sega's book and don't have anything that's sequential. Have something that's a standalone name. So you've got like a Master System or a Mega Drive or a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo or Switch, GameCubes and things like that. So yeah, Nintendo Swanch. I'll have a Swanch. Anyway, let's move forward. Just a couple of bits of news to go. And now for some paid product placement from Doom. Not on our website, but... oh, whoop. I've just turned on all the animations at once. No!
Oh, great stuff.
I apologise for everyone that is now deaf. Let me turn them off. No! Okay. Have they gone? They've gone. I apologise for that.
How'd you manage to press them all at once?
I have them all. A bit of Streamlabs education for you here. I have a folder called Animations, and within that folder, I have all our on-screen animations, which we never usually use on the scoop. So, like the "You Died" from what was it called?
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, there we go. The Victory Royale from Fortnite, Metal Gear Solid's Game Over, Knockout from Street Fighter, Winner Chicken Dinner, plus our Twitch Prime stuff. Anyway, they're all within a folder, and on Streamlabs you have one View All, Hide All button, and I hit the View All button for that rather than Chrome, so everything kind of spaffed out onto the screen. Yeah, before I jump through, the Microsoft X Pro Streamer. Do you know what? I'll take it. I'll take that as a compliment. Thanks, mate. I agree and think that it's because of the coronavirus that is stopping the Thanksgiving release. It would usually be the perfect time for the Xbox to release. However, it's a massive risk to announce it now. Excuse me. And then the time comes, and the virus is still taking over. I think they will hold off to see it settle down, and if it's good to release or not. Yeah, I know it's all semantics and it means the same thing, but saying something is out on November the 26th, I know they're saying Thanksgiving, but that's a specific day. Say something's out on a specific day versus a period. I definitely think it's much easier to kind of default on a period. We did say holidays 2020. Yes, it's early 2021, but it's close to holidays. Whereas Thanksgiving is one specific day that you're locking yourself down to. So, yeah, having a region... A launch region is probably better for the company rather than having a specific launch occasion. And we can't get Bibby back yet. We've still got no video of the Bib.
Oh, has it brought? I thought it'd bring me back altogether, but I should be back on your screen now. Just
there we
the camera back
go.
on.
There we go.
Hey.
Spike's clipped all the animations. You know what? I'll if we've got time at the end of it, I will click on that link because I wanted to see how horrible it would be for all you guys getting definite ones. But before we do that, let's jump in to the article that I was going to jump at with the sponsored placement from Doom. Shout out to the guys at Doom for sponsoring PC Gamer and not us. Thanks, guys. Cheers. So Fraser Brown at PC Gamer says Football Manager is free to play for an entire week. That's Football Manager 2020, and you can recreate Euro 2020 while you wait for the real one to return next year. There's not much football being played right now, and even Euro 2020 has been postponed. But if you're stuck inside and missing the ups and downs of your team, you can at least try your hand at simulating them in Football Manager 2020. Sports Interactive is letting everyone don a flat cap and manage a team for free until March the 25th. Football Manager 2020 is free on Steam now, so you can add it to your library now. If the life of a manager ends up suiting you, your progress will be retained when you buy it. It's a bit of a time sink, but that's probably just what a lot of us need right now, and it's well worth poring over for hours. Quote within the article says, if you can afford the time though, this year's game is absolutely worth your attention, particularly if long-term saves are your thing. Fraser Gilbert wrote in our Football Manager 2020 review, there's scope to play for countless seasons and still be presented with fresh challenges, and the new development centre system makes building for the future more compelling than ever. It's Football Manager with a substantially greater dose of longevity, and that both delights and terrifies me at the same time. Games like Football Manager and FIFA have also let teams give their fans something to watch amid all the cancellations. In lieu of live matches, some have been getting streamers to simulate them, while two Spanish footballers ended up going head-to-head in FIFA 20 for more than 60,000 fans. So there you go, Football Manager fans, grab it now. Have you got it, Bib? Are you getting it, Bib?
Well, I haven't got football. You see, I seem to go in like 2 or 3 year stints with Football Manager, so I'll play 17 for like 2 or 3 years, and then I'll get the next one, because for me there doesn't seem to be that much of an improvement year on year. This one looks like it's probably been the most improved out of all of them for as long back as I can remember, but I only bought it last year, so yeah, I probably won't buy this one, maybe not even the next one, but the one after, when I think that I probably got as much as I can out of this one, which is usually why I end up in about 600 hours on these Football Manager games overall, because I play them for like 3 years. But yeah, it's fantastic that they're actually giving these games away for free for people who may be in isolation, that have jobs that they can't work from home. so they have a massive time sink, and there is no bigger time sink in video gaming history than Football Manager. I had a discussion with Jay this morning upstairs telling him it was free, and he was like, listen, I will be divorced by the end of tomorrow if I was to play Football Manager. I would wake up in the morning, come downstairs with the laptop in just my pants to be able to play Football Manager for like 24 hours straight. It is, if you play Football Manager, it is spreadsheet simulator, but it's a fantastic game.
Coming downstairs in just his pants, unless it's a cup final, then he's absolutely wearing a white three-piece suit.
Mate, you're getting the whistle and flute out, aren't you, if you're the cup final? It's the only way you'd be getting a whiteboard. He'd be going somewhere to buy a whiteboard or delivering one in and just be doing his tactics on the board. It's the only way to play Football Manager.
How can you recreate something that hasn't happened? Good question. Just a shame the matches engine is a tad lacking.
The engine is shit. It's so bad.
That's the thing for me is the engine side of it. I'm more of a play game rather than a manage game. I like Master League because I can go through all the managerial functions, but then I want to see if the tweaks are something that I can then roll out. I don't want an engine to project and simulate my results. Obviously that's what it is. It's a football simulator, a management simulator, but I want to see if the simulator is something that will impact on the way that I play. So I've never really played managerial games. I've had a few tries, be it on my phone or be it on PC or be it on, I think there was a manager game on the Xbox 360, maybe 2003, something like that. I can't remember.
LMA.
Possibly. I had it, and yeah, just couldn't get to grips with it. But the fact that it's free, even if you can't get to grips with it, someone like me who wants to be able to play it, because hearing Bibby or watching Beans TV, shout out to Beans TV _, give them a check out on Twitch, and also follow us, you're there. I've heard many people talking about all the good stuff that comes with Football Manager. I've been involved in, although not being able to take part in, conversations with Bib and Paul Machin from Redmen TV on social media about how they used to have written out pages of things that they used to do or people to sign or whatever, and the idea of that draws me in.
But you do it for PES. You've literally got a spreadsheet of hidden gems and players that you wanted to level up.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing. That's where it draws me in. But then I get to the point when I start playing it, and I don't. But the good thing about it being free to play for a week, there could be that one epiphany moment where I just download it, give it a try. It's not for me. Spreadsheets, and then it's boom. And then it's like, there we go. And obviously, if the game isn't free to play, someone like me that wasn't going to download it because I've tried it before and failed with it, that gives me the opportunity to try. And if I download it and fail it, it fails for me and I don't buy it, then nobody's lost anything. Football Manager have done a good thing by giving me a chance to play the game. And if it does work, then Football Manager have got themselves a sale. The fact that they've put it free to play for a week is good all round. So GG's to the team at Sports Interactive. Rise says, I'd love to see some game companies make random games free to play for the time being. They'll give traction to the studio and it will be a great way to promote a new game if one is in the works. Stanford Blue! Morning lads, prizes arrived yesterday, much appreciated. GG mate, congratulations once again. So for those of you that don't know, mate. Stanford Blue is someone that we 100% rigged the ice cream uploads competitions to win. No I didn't. But yeah, GG mate, I'm glad it all got there safe. I say I'm glad, Bibbs is glad because he's the one that did all of the work. I just take all of the credit. Cheers Bib. I still prefer the text only days. Yeah, 3D engine just didn't grab me. Last year's engine was good. This year's it isn't. Finishing's been naff throughout, and even the last update didn't do much. The engine in the Switch version is much better. It would also be a massive statement to the game industry and how we are capable of coming together. And it isn't one big toxic community, although it can certainly be that way.
Absolutely.
Which reminds me, I don't know if Mr. T, aka Asim Tanvir, is in the chat. He tweeted earlier on, which I believe I retweeted it. I definitely liked it. And it was there was a PES post about match day being cancelled, and there was a lot of negativity in response to that. And I keep seeing, I wrote a tweet yesterday. I'll read you a tweet that is sat in my drafts because it pissed me off. It genuinely did. So this is the tweet that I wrote, but then just thought, you know what, I can't be asked with the drama. I'm busy enough, so I'll just leave it. But I'm seeing too many people expecting developers to use COVID as an opportunity to provide more games for people during isolation. Opportunity? ? Devs aren't miraculously immune to COVID. The pandemic affects them just as much as everyone else. Yeah. So you will see devs using their resources, and their resources aren't just people. their resources could be things that they've already coded and built and have sat in a server waiting to go live. And those resources then might be amended and tweaked so they can put more content out or change updates or hold updates so that things can continue rather than stopping. Whatever it is, devs around the world have people just like Spike's going to go to B&M and have people ask him for hand sanitizer over and over again. He has a job to do. And the pandemic, whilst it's pissing everyone else off and causing upset, Spike still has things to do, but he might not be able to do it to the best of his abilities. And the same thing happens with devs. So people sat there going, "Oh, you've cancelled stuff, or you've withheld stuff, or you've..." Fucking look out the window! You can't get any bog roll or anything. You can't. I literally went to Tesco this morning after I dropped my little one off at school, and I was just going to buy some like pot noodly kind of things, and they were 2 for £2 or something like that. I was going to buy 3, one for me, one for Danielle, and one for Chloe, but 2 for £2, so I picked up 4. And I got to the tills, and the woman's like, "You can only have 3." I was like, "All right, then, well, you might as well take the other one because I'll just take 2 then. I don't want to pay full price for one." I only picked up 4 because they were on offer. But we're in this situation where I literally can't even buy a pot noodle. So yeah, just chill the fuck out, man. Some devs, just give devs the same sort of leeway that you will give someone in Tesco, that you will give someone at your local NHS drop-in centre or whatever. Devs are people too, so stop being weapons.
Absolutely.
Better start buying digital games soon. Physical copies are going to be in short supply or limited quantities. One thing I will say though, and I know it's an unfully furnished comment because it's literally just come in mind, is digital is definitely going to be the preferred option with everything that's happening. The logistical impacts will be huge. I would like to see digital taking that on and being more competitive with the pricing. However, when I'm saying I know it's not fully thought through, that's me talking entirely as a consumer. I want to pay less for games. Yeah, everyone does. But I think it kind of, in all of the tax relief where we're talking like, should people's mortgages be dropped? Should people's whatever be given some sort of relief from the government? I'd like to see, if digital is the option, then I'd like to see that taken on board. And at least for the time being, all games having a 10%, whatever it is, drop so that they can become a bit more accessible to people. I know that doesn't take into effect that businesses, including video games companies, suddenly can't do all of the stuff that they need to do, and they need their profits as well. But yeah. It would be nice. I know people can rip that apart and say, actually, you've not thought of, and yeah, there's a lot that I've not thought of, but it would be nice. Global pandemic or not, Amazon delivery guy better be at my door tomorrow with my Animal Crossing. Yes, no, I agree. I have Mother's Day presents on the way that are due today that aren't going to be here today. So it might be a late Mother's Day in the Day household, although half of it is here, so that's fine. I've just gone out and got some eShop credit and pre-ordered Animal Crossing with it. Smart move. If it's digital, it's going to be there. Can only buy Final Fantasy VII digital now. They announced people probs won't get their game on physical. Well, I'll stop in the chat there. Which brings us on to our final news article of the day, which says, Square Enix warns of Final Fantasy VII Remake shipping delays. Written by Brendan Sinclair for GI.biz. The tagline says, worldwide release still set for April 10th, but publisher says it's increasingly likely that copies may be delayed in delivery. So the article now says, Final Fantasy VII Remake is releasing on time, but players may still need to wait a bit longer to get their hands on it. Square Enix today released a statement on the game's Twitter account saying the ongoing novel coronavirus, aka COVID-19, pandemic is likely to impact the game's launch. The worldwide release of Final Fantasy VII Remake on April 10th will go ahead, the company said. However, with the unforeseeable changes in the distribution and retail landscape, which varies across countries, it is increasingly likely that some of you will not get hold of your copy on the game on the release day. The publisher is monitoring the situation and said it will provide an update this Friday, March 20th. COVID-19 has already been responsible for considerable disruption in the industry's events calendar and hardware production pipeline. It's not yet been blamed for a delay to a major software release, although some believe that is inevitable, with Streamline Media Group CEO Alexander Fernandez saying it will take a quarter or two before the impact is fully understood.
Yeah, man.
So
it's inevitable at this point, isn't it?
I agree. I
don't know where that leaves me in Resident Evil, though. Do you know what I mean? I need to get it in my physical for the physical collection. What do I do now, mate? Do I buy it on digital just to be able to know that I'm going to be able to play it on release day, or do I chance it and then go to Tesco like I did last time? What do I do, mate?
You keep talking for about 0.05 seconds whilst I just see if this fits in the... Oh, it's too fucking long! Final Fantasy VII physical releases might be delayed. Okay, let's get rid of might be. And change delayed to question mark. There we go. There we go, that fits. So yes, I would, if I was you, do what you were planning to do. And then we will deal with it as the time comes. You never know, we might be able to speak to the lovely people at Capcom and say, do you know what, the people that are subscribed or just followed on Ice Cream Uploads, or even just sat in the chat now, might want to see Resident Evil 3 streamed at launch on Twitch, on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. So, do you know, it might be worth providing us with one of your lovely content creator codes. And they might go, fuck you! But either way, we don't know. It doesn't hurt without... you can't... Yeah, might as well try.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if there was to give us over one anyway, as a person, like very much like we do when we get the copies of PES, we go into the shop and then we buy the coins or whatever just to be able to put some more money back in. But I was for my own personal collection, I will be buying this game regardless of whether or not we get it for free, just because I am a fucking nerd when it comes to Resident Evil and I want to be able to buy it. But I'm just having a look on the the game collection's website now, which I usually buy quite a lot of my games from anyway, because they are usually very good to me when it comes to delivering stuff. It still says the 3rd of April, so fingers crossed. I might just order it from here.
Yeah, I think...
To be honest.
Yeah. I agree, Mr. D. Hope they reduce prices a bit. People would be more likely to support. Yeah, absolutely. People are going to have a lot of financial difficulties. Not only the fact that they won't be able to pick things up. If I mean, schools obviously are closing tomorrow, so that will impact on people anyway. A lot of people won't be able to go to work and will need those tax reliefs and stuff. So it would be a nice gesture. But yeah, that's just something that we're calling for in Ice Cream Uploads. Whether it's feasible or going to happen, we will see. Rise says, I saw this as well. It plays into my prediction of Final Fantasy VII being a flop. Ooh, he's tactically thinking. I see. Asim says, I mean, it's almost like Kojima predicted this with Death Stranding. Isolated world, delivering men/women. Very important to keep society connected. Fucking mind blown. I mean, I always knew he was a genius, but fuck me. Enix says, got my digital deluxe. Hope my Doom and Animal Crossing are live. Rise says, got Tesco because ain't no one leaving the house when the release comes around. Iceman literally just got back from there. But there we go. I think we'll have to wrap things up. We are an hour and a half into a scoop today, although that does include the starting screen and the countdown and stuff. But yeah. Anyone got any eggs? I've actually went into Tesco this morning and there was shitloads. So go to Tesco, Salford Precinct, there was loads of eggs. There wasn't any pasta, there was a lot of stuff, no milk whatsoever, but the eggs, yes. If this is Death Stranding, where do I get my power legs? Do you know what I could do with a couple of those as well? Do you know, actually, I'll have three or four. Put me down for a couple of pairs. Yeah, job's a good one. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap things up there. We know the PS5 is coming. We know the Xbox is coming, and potentially at Thanksgiving, but maybe not. We don't know. They've taken it back. All we do know is that everything, as with everything right now, is a little bit uncertain when it comes to the consoles, but we will keep you updated. So make sure if you are sat in the channel, you hit that follow button, which is kind of up there somewhere, because you will get notified each and every time we go live. We go live at 10 a.m. every single weekday on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. So if you're following, you get notified when we go live, and if we get any more news or we get any sort of updates and stuff, then we can tell you what we know, which is usually not a lot, on the console updates. Obviously, feel free to sub, but you don't have to. That's something you can do, but if you do sub, you get access to this, and when I press this, then that means that Bibby has to say it.
Hello!
There we go, yeah! I mean, on demand, all the way through the stream. Not really, because that would kill everyone listening to us on broadcast services around the world. But yes, we are going to leave it there. We're going to wrap things up. Before we disappear, though, Mr. Bibberino, is there anything you want to add to the lovely folks in the chat?
Yeah, I do. If you do see any juicy video game news around the social media platforms of the choice that you use on your day-to-day basis, then do feel free to We've Got to Be in your @Graham_day, and most importantly Ice Cream Uploads. We'll take your thoughts and opinions, add our thoughts and opinions, and then bring them to you on the very next show, which will be tomorrow.
You goddamn right it is. You goddamn right. Before we go, Enix says zombies are around Salford Precinct. Ket zombies. Yes, they are, and on that bombshell, I'm going to disappear to get my ket and go party with the peeps on the precinct! If you have subscribed to the channel, not only do you get that hello emote, you also get another one, another blue one, actually. And if you want to post that in the chat, feel free. But all I can tell you is, it says, stay frosty.